Alright, hello VC, I'm back. I've been meaning to do this, another video for a while, actually a few. I have all these ideas, but I don't have any time. It's just crazy. But let's get the housekeeping out of the way. We listen to Mekon Delta, a German thrash band, heavy speed metal band. I consider them thrash, but I don't know where the lines go. It's from '87 on GWAR or GWR. I always called it GWAR Records. But a German band. And I had this record for many years. I picked this up in the 90s for cheap. Listened to it. I didn't really think much of it. Put it away. And every now and then I'd pull it out every couple of years and put it on. And it took me many years to discover how great and how important this record is. I don't want to say the record's genius, but this is really one of the first records that brings in something, not first record that brings something new to thrash metal, but it brings this kind of German influence and these odd beats and odd rhythms, almost a krautrock thing into the American thrash metal vein. And I really think this is an important record in the timeline of thrash metal. And it took me a long time to wrap my head around this record. But they do like very interesting beats and rhythms, and the way he sings and comes in, it's very not American, and it reminds me of krautrock. And I don't mean like it sounds like Noi or Can, but like krautrock with like a lowercase k, like maybe just German rock. The way things are off, but not off because they're wrong. They're intentionally different. Like I think of the early Scorpions did it a bit, and maybe it's Robot Man, the beginning of Robot Man, the intro. There's just some offbeats. I don't want to say offbeats, but these interesting rhythms on guitar that you just would never get from an American band, or a British band for that matter. And these guys bring it in, and I don't even know how intentional it was, but it's there, and it's very interesting. And I think this is an important record. So if you don't know it and you ever see this record around, I think they had a couple others. This is my only Mekon Delta record, but this is a good record, and there's some great tracks on here. And they actually have a tune called Black Sabbath, where they take all the, not all, but a bunch of song titles of Sabbath songs and string them together and make their lyrics with. And that's on the Mekon Delta side. And this is the ARG side we're listening to now, which has a song called The Hut of Baba Yaga. So there's your krautrock influences too. But anyway, so we are going to do my Status Quo collection. And I'm no means an expert in Status Quo, and I have a little bit of collection which I've had since the 90s, and it's not a very big collection for Status Quo, but considering I'm over here in America, it's a very big collection. Especially since I had this in the 90s, I might have had, not to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, I'm kind of joking, but I might have had the biggest Status Quo collection in this country for a guy under the age of 40 in the 90s. And, oh yeah. And here's my t-shirt for the video. I've got this Monsters of Rock shirt. Let's see if I can show it. It was Status Quo, Gillan, Saxon, Hawkwind, Uriah Heep, and Anvil. And this was '82. And I wanted to wear I had a Pile Driver shirt. But I'm pretty sure it's in like the basement rag box, because I've worn it so many times through the years. Like, and I love wearing that shirt. It was just it wasn't a vintage shirt. It was like an iron-on shirt, so I didn't feel sad, like turning into a rag. But I used to wear that around and like, oh, I know Status Quo. Like, that's a band nobody knows. And very rarely, I think I've only really met two older guys that really knew Quo I could have a conversation with, and one of them seen him in the 70s playing with Uriah Heep, and another one saw him in maybe the late 80s at it might have been the early 90s. I think it was like the House of Blues or somewhere in Chicago, he mentioned. And he said he was one of the only few Americans. It was like mostly Mexicans at the show, because Americans just don't know Quo, even though they're one of the biggest bands in the world. But anyway, let's get on. Oh, my other thing. See, I forget. I was going to be wearing my Status Quo watch. I used to wear this around too. I was a proud Quo fan. It doesn't tell the time, but it does always say it's time to boogie. Anyway, we'll start off with Quo. Quo had their one hit in America, Pictures of Matchstick Men, which is a great tune. It's like psych psych rock, you know, pre-psychedelic or even almost psychedelic. And they put out a couple of records. They put out 3 records actually, and I don't own any of them. Picturesque, Matchstickable, whatever, some psychedelic nonsense title, and then Spare Parts and Ma Kelly's Greasy Spoon. I don't have any of those records. I have a CD that Castle Records put out, and it compiles all their early stuff, their first 4 albums, and it's pretty good to get a gist of those records, but it proves that I don't want to own those records. This here is the Dog at Two Heads, and this is where Status Quo threw away the paisley shirts and put on their denim jackets and started turning up their guitar amps, saying guitars sound better this way. And it's a much more rock and roll record. It's still got some of that early 70s, late 60s trappings in there, but it has a couple of tracks that will be in the Quo catalog for years to come. And this was on Pi Records, and I believe the other records, the other ones you don't want, are on Pi. This is a gatefold, and you can see they're starting to look like rockers here, and not like I don't know, like Carnaby Street Cats. But this is really the first Quo record, and we'll start with that. And then after that record, Quo put out this monster. This is Pile Driver, and this is killer. This is out now like the heads down, no nonsense boogie. This is what we know Quo about. 2 guitar attack and just boogie rock non-stop for their entire career. And this record is Obligatory, Pile Driver. And this is on what they do? A&M, and this is a Canadian pressing, because most of the stuff is going to be not American pressings. And this is just an out-and-out shit kicker. I mean, this is a great record, and a lot of classics on here. And this is possibly the first record. The interesting thing Status Quo did, they would put From the Makers Of and put all their albums, and as you get later albums, there'll be more of these little logos of all their albums. And even Status Quo only starts with Dog at Two Heads. They don't put their other 3 records on. Like, basically to them, the band started at this record. And then even later on, when you get their later catalog, they even drop this one and start this as the real Status Quo record. But this is where we get into the greatest stuff. The next record they put out was Hello. And this is an American pressing, and I've seen this around, and I don't know how it is to find now, but it used to be around a lot. And mine says promotion not for sale stamped on it. But every single copy I've ever seen has that stamped in there. So if that's maybe the only copies that were in America were the promo copies, but I'm not sure, but I think every copy had that on there. I don't believe this is anything special, but it's got the sticker, and I believe this is an original pressing, and it has the lyrics. And this is 1973. And this record, this is my favorite Status Quo record, with tunes like Roll Over, Lay Down, Caroline, the 4,500 Times, which is a long tune, but it's just boogie rock. And this is great. And this is the end of the big 3. This is Quo. And this record, and now we're starting to get good album covers here. Like the roots, and the heads are growing onto the tree, out of the tree. And this record is probably their heaviest record. In Backwater, Break the Rules, Drifting Away, every tune on here. I love this record. And I do have a lyric sheet. And this is also a Canadian pressing from A&M. But basically, if you don't have any Status Quo, these are the 3 killer records to get. Hello, Pile Driver, and Quo. And if you just add these 3 little records, just like a pound, this would actually add like 150 pounds to your collection of heaviness. This is fantastic stuff. But they kept putting out good records. The record after that was called On the Level. And this one is a French pressing. And if you look, here's the back cover, but now they have the 4 albums before it from the makers of. Gatefold, a lot of cool pictures, a lot of great tracks on here most of the time. Classics Down Down, They do a cover of Bye Bye Johnny, Chuck Berry, but it's good most of the time. And there's a lot of classics. This is a great record on the level. The one after that, another great record. If you could read, where is it? Oh, it's Blue for You. It doesn't say. Oh, it says it on the back. Blue for You. And this is, now they're self-aware of the denim and the tough, no-nonsense boogie. And it's a great gatefold with the headbangers and really headbanging. I know that it maybe started with Deep Purple, but it could very well have been Status Quo, the first shows where there was really headbanging. And it's got a great blue sleeve, inner sleeve, and then a nice blue label too. So it's all denim, this thing. And this record has Is There a Better Way? Maybe my favorite Status Quo song. But another great record. So you also could grab those two records if you really like the other ones and end your Quo collection there. But the next record they put out, and that's what I really want to talk about, this Quo Live record. Quo Plus Live or Quo Live. This is one of my favorite live albums. This album kicks ass. This is a band firing on all 8 cylinders, and it is fantastic. It's recorded in Glasgow in 79, maybe at this point. 76, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. 76, and it's in like a theater-size venue. It's in like a theater-sized venue, and it really feels like a theater-sized venue, this live show. And most live albums, not most, because I'm sure people could just come up with 100 examples I can't think of, but most live albums I have that arena rock feel, and I always think of like, I don't know, just the classic live albums, like you know, Live After Death, and the UFO, and all those always have an arena rock sound where they're projecting the sound of the audience, or they're the club sound, like all the Johnny Thunders live albums, or like the Merciful Fate live album, that kind of club feeling, the Holocaust live album. And there's very few that have that middle venue size feel. I think Crazy Cavern, it's like old Teddy Boy stuff, but Crazy Cavern Live at the Rainbow is another great, like, theater sounding. And this record, it just has a great, it's not like the sound stage is perfect, but I feel like it sounds like the way they were playing in a theater, not an arena, where in an arena you're playing and you're projecting out to the crowd. Like you want to get past the monitors, the bounce back, and the loud crowd noise and project it to them. On this, I feel the band is playing on the stage. They can hear the instruments and they're jamming with each other and taking chances. Not that there's a lot of chances in boogie rock, but they're really on the top of their game, and probably they were on the top of their game at every show. But this one captures them just in the middle of their career, at the height of their career, and they're really knocking it out of the park together. And it's hard to explain, but this is a fantastic live album. And it's also, I really like the packaging. It's good. There's the venue there, and if there's a picture. Maybe it's all in my head, this theater talk, but it's just, if you could see that, it's not like a very big hall. It's just like you know, it's like a very small opera house or a large movie theater. And Hypnosis did this record. And it's just a really nice package with these. And I hate Hypnosis Hypnosis covers. I don't like them at all, but they really, really did a fine job on this record. I think they did a great job. Just like they did a great job on Strangers in the Night too. But Hypnosis, I really feel like they ruined, like, the Scorpions and UFO and even those later Zeppelin records are just terrible. I think they actually hurt sales with bands like UFO and the Scorpions with those silly album covers. I mean, I like them because I know them for so long, but they're really terrible, especially if you were a kid looking through and you had no idea what these bands are. And I just didn't like that. I always felt like this, like, hipster art school take on this. Well, whatever the reason is, they stopped taking their LSD and they put out a nice album cover, and this is a fantastic, fantastic live album. And the tracks are just great. And And I mean, I could keep talking about this record, but I don't know. I'll just end it. But I really want to stress that this is one of my favorites. It just, you crank this up, and they're really kicking ass. And it's just boogie, boogie. And like, you cannot listen to this record without shaking your head, dancing. I'm like, you could tie up like an Al-Qaeda member or something, and he'd be hating Western culture, and he'd listen to this record and be like, yeah, Status Quo, that's all right. But after that, then they did Rockin' All Over the World, which is the big hit. Big, not in America, but it was the opening song for Live Aid, and this now would make it like 82, and this is a French what is this? I think it's still Vertigo. Yeah, it's still Vertigo, and it's got a pretty cool, that UFO label, which is also the same label as the live record. And it's a good record, you know, it's still more of that boogie, but it's not as dirty and vital. But it's a good record. And let me move this along here. Then after that was Can't Stand the Heat, which is a neat record. It's got this little cutout there, and it turns into a book of matches that caught the front on fire, and pretty interesting with the record player. And which way am I holding this? I guess it doesn't matter. It's just a drum shot. There they are again, giving us the boogie in a sleeve. And it's a good record. And let me flip the side real quick. Sorry about that. Well, actually, next record I have is just like a throwaway comp from who knows where, from Belgium. Just useless, but I had it, picked it up. And the next record is Now Hear This, and it was, oh, I'm losing it now. This is an American record here, unless it's Canadian. No, this is American. This came out, this is the American cover. Everybody, oh, I can't remember, but this was has a different title in Europe, but same track listing. It had a hit, Living on an Island, you know, acoustic. It's all right. It's not near as good anymore. Now we're getting, it's a little more, I don't want to say poppier, but lighthearted boogie rock. But it's still boogie rock, and you can't say anything bad about it. You can't say anything bad about Quo. And everybody, I can't think of the other one, but this album has a different title and different cover. Then comes Just Supposing, and that's not a gatefold. It's got this rocket ship thing going on here, and from the makers of, and now they have all the albums. So far, the line's getting bigger. Don't Drive My Car. Yeah, there's a couple of tracks on here. I start losing it a little bit here, but they're still decent records. And after that, we continue the rocket ship. I think shoots up and then he catches it. I don't know. Never Too Late. Still dirtbag looking. And now we just add another logo on the end. And this does have an inner. Just lyrics, nothing much. And what is this on? This is on Vertigo. French Vertigo. Another 40 minutes of boogie rock. And then you got 1982. And this, it's embossed. I don't know if you can see that. Not too important. But, what was I going to say? Oh, John Coughlin now leaves the band. The drummer has left the band. And now, we're nearing the end of Status Quo. Big Man's a good track. But this, I just kind of forget these. They're just kind of more mindless boogie. And then After that was back to back. And if you look, they're starting to get a lot of logos on there. 1980. Oh, I think this one's a compilation there, but oh no, that's the box set. That one's the box set. So we have all the records so far. We went through every one. And I might as well. Oh yeah, I guess we're done here. Then we have Live at the NEC, and this was the concert. The Queen and Lady Diana and Prince Charles were out. I don't know, but it's all I know. It's a good set list. It's got a lot of the tracks I mentioned before, and this is the last record that Alan Lancaster, the bass player, and sometimes sings some of the great tracks, is on. And he's going to leave after this record. And they actually didn't put the, they just showed all the records here. Oh, Whatever You Want. Whatever You Want. That's the name of the album that was Now Hear This in America. There it is. But we covered every studio record up until, well, this is 84, 82 Netherlands. I think it was, the concert was 82. I think the record came out in 83 or 84. It says 84 in this. But after that live album, they took a hiatus and they didn't put out a record till 1986, In the Army Now, and that was, it hit the charts in England, I believe, with the title track. But Alan Lancaster left. It's just Rick Parfitt and Francis Rossi left, and they were more of like almost a, not a novelty band. The music was a novelty, but Status Quo considered like a novelty. Oh, here's another Status Quo thing. But here's the box set. I think it came out in the metal can. I just have this version. There's nothing on here great. It's got these silly little wheels. Maybe they were what the cans were. The metal cans. It's got the song. Basically, 2 albums chronological of greatest hits, starting with Pictures of Matchstick Men. So they actually go through the early years, but they get that over with by the first 2 songs or 3 songs. And then side 4, 5, and 6 is just that Live at the NEC record. And this is where you could end it, was at that NEC. And that's all the Quo. I have a couple singles, nothing great, just stuff I picked up. I don't really search for their singles, as you just get the albums, you got everything. But this is a picture of Caroline, and that's from Live at the NEC. Dirty Water on the back, not the Standell's cover. Mess of Blues, but the B-side, Big Man, was a good track. It was a little bit more getting back to the old stylings. I have original Caroline on Vertigo, which is just killer. And Joanne. Oh, I think that might not be on an album. And then this, the Anniversary Waltz, which was like a album. It was a DVD I saw. Like a bunch of fans get on a train and go see them play this anniversary show. It's just a big medley of like 50s rock and roll tunes and something called the Power Rock. Nothing special. That's my Status Quo collection, or Status Quo collection. But basically, just to reiterate, and I'm no means an expert. There are people who are Quo heads who've been Quo heads since like '72. But I just want to say the live album. I don't even need to show it again. But the live album and these 3 records. If you had these 3 records and the live album, you just enhanced your collection big time. But I like having all the studio records. I have everything I need. I don't need those 3 early ones, and I don't need After In the Army Now and on. But I could go to bed at night knowing I have Status Quo in my house. Just taken care of and done, and boogie, man. And the greatest band to just bang your head to. And that's it. Hopefully not too long, and hopefully maybe you'll learn something. I will be back sooner than later because I have some other things I really want to show. Take care. Let's boogie.